Let's talk about strength. In fighting games, characters are nowhere near equal. Due to every character having unique moves and differences between each other, there will likely be disparities in strength between the different characters. Even characters that are seen as clones of each other generally have it so that the differences between them means that one is stronger than the other. Eventually, the competitive players of a game will realize which characters are stronger and which are weaker, and will create things known as tier lists. In the olden days, when things were obviously better, before we had the internet where we could get knowledge from everyone across the world, not to mention the best players from every region, tier lists were actually representative of what people think because they used matchup charts from their local arcade, which they had to travel to and weren't guaranteed to have the best players, instead of being able to look at the best in the world and play them over the internet. Are the boomers gone? Okay, cool. So current tier lists are made from feelings. There's no way to say if tier lists are better now or before, but Jesus, there's so many of them! Where did they all come from? I'm drowning! Help! From these tier lists, competitive players may look at where characters stack up against each other and pick based on what the majority of people say. The majority of these people look at this end of the tier list, but others go lower. Low tiers is a term used to refer to the worst characters in a given game. They generally have weak tools or tools that don't synergize well, a lack of important tools needed to thrive in the metagame, or just can't compete with the top tiers of the game. There are specific people who gravitate towards these kinds of characters, and a lot of people have but one question for all of these people. Why? For a majority of players, picking a character seen as weak is just counterproductive when your goal is to win as much as possible. Why would you do this if it doesn't make sense? Well, there's multiple reasons, but let's start with the one that we're not bothered with. You gotta remember that the majority of players don't actually play these games competitively. They play them for fun with friends and probably haven't even thought about which characters are the best or the worst. Sometimes these people branch out and go to a competitive event and have no idea about the meta and will default to their favorite character. Maybe they'll be good at them too, who knows, but the likelihood is they will be playing that character because they like them. Honestly, I've seen people get into games just because of low tiers. Remember when Strive was coming out and everyone looked at Faust and went, "What the fuck happened?" I'm sure that helped some people get into the game if we still don't even know what happened, god damn it! Seeing Frieza beating Bardock in his dramatic finish for Dragon Ball Fighter got casuals wanting to play Frieza, and probably the other way around, but still. Hell, there's a character that's done so much more than any fighting game advertisement, marketing campaign, or rolling gold netcode has ever done. Brace yourself though, because what you're about to see is absolutely terrifying. This little shit has done more to let my friends know about what Melty Blood is than any bathroom memes, type Lumina marketing campaigns, and the Gospel of Lord Knight has ever done. This character is designed to be low tier, and it's still got one of my friends into Melty Blood. It's peak character design. Look at this air dash. Look at it. It's so good. This character has flooded my Twitter timeline for the past few months, and I'm happy to see them. Also, French bread, put her in type Lumina. I swear to God, it'd sell like hotcakes. People like low tiers. They're great and good for casuals, but fuck them. Why do people who compete play low tier characters? Let's go over a few reasons. This is one of the most common reasons that people play low tiers, because the character in question just so happens to be in the archetype and playstyle that player gravitates towards. The most common example for this is grapplers. Grapplers are, most of the time, pretty low tier, having powerful tools for specific situations, but not necessarily having the tools to get them into that situation or ways to deal with opposing playstyles efficiently without hard reads. This is a bit of a fringe case because it doesn't work for every game. Not all grapplers are low tier, but sometimes it just happens like that. In all fairness, if you're doing this much damage to me, you deserve to be low tier. I don't want to deal with that shit. Now we're getting to the more intentional reasons that people play low tier characters. Before we go into believers though, we should talk about why some people think certain characters are low tier. There's the obvious reasons that we've talked about before, like how they're objectively bad, not fitting into the meta, not having tools that work well with each other, just not being able to do things that other characters can do better. These are generally the reasons that people think of when you hear the word low tier, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes a character isn't low tier because of these reasons, they're just low tier because no one really knows what to do with their tools or how to make them work. It's not the most common thing to happen, but generally, a lot of higher tier characters in games are actually really easy to use, with the characters seen as harder sinking lower in people's tier lists just due to the fact that they can't be bothered to figure out how to play them properly. Because of this, Some people play low-tier characters believing that if you stick with them, they'll be able to find that one thing that everyone's missing that makes the character really good. Or maybe they believe that they've already found it and that their character is actually amazing and don't think they're low-tier. It just so happens that they have a lot of bad matchups against higher-tier characters and can't pull off the four-way mix-ups that they love to talk about, but I'm sure they're just having a bad day. You can generally tell who these players are as they're either placing highly with their represented character, using tools in ways that haven't been thought of before, or just playing very solid around their kit, or they won't shut up about their character and will gush about them at every opportunity while always managing to go 0-2 at every local they go to. This isn't a call-out post, but if you feel called out by it, I recommend evaluating why you play these games and why you play that character. An option select refers to a situation in a fighting game where you're able to counter everything that your opponent does. True option select is something that some players can spend forever looking for, and when one is found, it can define the meta of a game. The meta, by the way, is the most efficient tactic available, in case you didn't know. But there is one option select that transcends every game, every matchup against every single player. To describe it, I need an example. Let's say that you're playing Faust, and your opponent is Soul Bad Guy. I don't play either of these characters, but judging from what the community says, I'd say this matchup is around 7-3 in Soul's favor. This means that if the players were at equal skill level and played against each other 10 times, Soul would win 7 times and Faust would win 3 times. However, if we take a look at some tier lists, you can see that Faust is generally much lower than Soul. In a tournament setting, Soul is basically guaranteed to win. So this is where the option select comes into play. So if the Faust loses, well, yeah, of course he did. It was Faust versus Soul. He was guaranteed to lose. Option 1. Your character is just better than mine. If the Faust wins, then you lost to the worst character in the game. Option 2. Your opponent sucks. And if they counter either of these, you just gotta burst out the trap card, which is 2 opponents, so I can't even show you it right now. It would literally kill all of you. And I don't even play this game. Behold, even cowards who can't take a hit to their ego have a way to get into the FGC. This isn't the main reason that people pick low tiers, but sometimes it can be a byproduct. There is one final reason that people pick lower tier characters though, and it's kind of the most obvious one. Character loyalty is something that most people in the FGC have experienced at some point. Fighting game characters have a lot of personality and individual quirks that make them unique and attract players to them. Yeah, Jury's low tier, but she's also sadistic, has a flippy dippy kick, and is hot. Has very deep lore and interesting connections to the other members of the cast. That is why I play her. Yes, lore. There's more reasons than just strength for why people play these characters. And while it may seem silly to pick a character based on character, it can lead to greater motivation if you play the character that you actually like. Sol is basically a better version of Giovanna, but he also doesn't have a dog and give me powers through his book. Part of the video has been cut due to it being a spoiler to this video, which you should go watch. It's funny, I swear. There's more reason for people to play characters than their tools. If they didn't have the characters, then they'd just be functions. And we all know how well that turned out last time. Not to mention these characters can be really fun. Angie is bad, but man, he's fun. People pick characters for all different reasons, even at higher levels of play. It's not all to do with strength. Sometimes you pick a character and they end up being bottom tier, and sometimes the opposite happens. Honestly, if you're not going to do the best in the world, it doesn't even matter that much. Just play who you like and enjoy your time with whatever game you like. But I retain the right to judge you with whoever you play, and if you do that option select, you a bitch.